Welcome to another episode of the Completely Cricket podcast. Today we've got two segments for you. One on the IPL as usual, it's just a weekly roundup, and one on Brendan McCullum recently becoming England's Test head coach. And do we think it's the right move? Do we think it could have been someone else who's better, and things like that? We're just going to talk about generally Brendan McCullum, his impact that he's going to have, and the potential relationship with Ben Stokes as captain. In the IPL weekly overview, we're not going to do our usual standings, then highlights of the week and predictions. We're going to focus on two key matches that we thought would dictated the play of the IPL and dictated the people who qualified for the top four. Obviously, it's not confirmed yet, but these the two most significant matches for us. As usual, please subscribe, and tell us what you think about episodes. We'd love to hear what you guys feel about it and where we can improve. Without further ado, let's get started. So for me, my match that I thought was most important last week was Punjab Kings versus RCB. It actually happened yesterday, and it was a very good match because whoever won that basically kept the just increased their chances of qualifying for the top four and therefore going to this eliminators and potentially winning the IPL. And Punjab Kings did win. I think they scored something in the near 200s. I think 209 it was, and RCB pretty much at the start looked like they could chase it and then sort of collapsed to 155 for 9. So it was a pretty big win, 54 runs. Punjab Kings haven't been the most consistent of teams in this IPL, and until a couple of matches ago, it didn't look like they were in the run-in for qualification. But they have put themselves in, and they're actually very close because they are 2 points behind RCB, who are at 4th, but they have one match in hand. So if they win that, and due to their superior net run rate, they could be in 4th. So it's completely likely. We've talked about why this match was important. Highlights this match, Dave. What would you say your highlights of this match would be?
Yeah, so a few excellent performances really. We had two excellent batsmen from England. Livingstone, he scored 70 of 42, and then we also had Jonny Bairstow, 66 of 29. So two very powerful batsmen and two very powerful innings as well. So those were two good performances. And then there was also Wanindu Hasaranga from RCB, who had figures of 2 for 15 or 4 overs. So it was quite an interesting match, really. We had Punjab Kings who got themselves to I think 200 or so, and these two, Livingstone and Bairstow, coming from England, I've been really impressed by Livingstone, especially his style of batting. I really enjoy watching, and he just has this fearless nature that I've sort of talked about this before as well. I really like that, and 70 or 42, it's an excellent knock, and we've seen other performances from him as well. And I really those are probably the standout performances for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Liam Livingstone's been probably the one main constant in the Punjab Kings team, except for probably Rabada, who's just been generally pretty good around the entire season. But Liam Livingstone, 70 or 42, not the most explosive of knocks, but it's obviously, you can see by 70 or 42 is a very good strike rate. It's an impressive innings, but it's also shown one where he survived a lot of balls. He hasn't just swung, scored 26 off 10, for example, and just got out. He has survived a long time. He's played that role where he started early and he's played throughout the entire innings, which is something that's really important for any team in the IPL. Coming on to Jonny Bairstow, by his standards, he's had a pretty bad IPL season. Would you agree?
Definitely. I think this might have been the only innings he's really shown that he is a good batsman. I'm interested. He's really been struggling, and yet Punjab Kings have kept him in the team. And it's not even I don't think he's the keeper either, which is also a big factor. Normally, if I'm thinking of bringing Jonny Bairstow in my team, I would think, maybe he could take up that keeping role, but he hasn't done that. And he's not a keeper for Punjab Kings, and it's just this innings. He's got to use this innings as a confidence booster to in the last few games coming up, and if he can do that, and if he can continue on these runs and pick up where he left off yesterday in his next game, then I think he'll be even better. But overall, he's not had a great IPL, and ideally he'd want to improve that, change it for the English summer coming up as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that he just needs he needs time in the crease. That's something that he hasn't really had. You know, if a batsman gets 30 balls, 40 balls as Jonny Bairstow can get, then you feel really settled in the crease. You don't have to start explosively. No one expects that from a top order batsman. You can start a bit more sedately and then build up as you get into the innings. But if you get out with after facing 5 balls, 3 balls, 10 balls, that's just not enough time, I think. And that's something that Jonny Bairstow has really been lacking. He hasn't been able to build a significant innings. Everyone knows how good he is, but he needs these runs in the last few matches of the IPL just so it can give him like some confidence going into international cricket. We've got like the Test series versus New Zealand, England versus New Zealand. You've got like World Cups coming up. He's got to get some form in him so he can be confident for international cricket. We talked. You mentioned Wanindu Hasaranga, 215 or 4. The reason why I think this spell of his was probably one of the best I've seen is considering Punjab Kings scored more than 200 runs. So that's more than 10 runs and over. Wanindu Hasaranga went at less than 4 runs and over, and I think that's just ridiculous because you'd expect if a team scores 200, all bowlers to go over like 8-10 runs and over. Obviously, there'll be some who go slightly lower, but less than 4 runs and over and taking 2 wickets. It just shows how the batsmen just know that he's really a good quality bowler and are willing to either play him out or just try and attack him, but just can't. And that just shows testament to his skill. What do you feel about Wanindu Hasaranga and how his season's been?
Yeah, he's had a very good season, right? Like, often we see, 2 for 15 or 4 overs. At first, sort of thinking, yeah, it's a very good spell, but we see a lot of it. But as you mentioned, Punjab Kings have got over 200, which makes this spell even more effective. And that 4 overs, that's a fifth of the innings. And just going for 15 runs in a fifth of the innings, like that's really good. And he picked up 2 wickets with that as well. So yeah, especially this match, that was an amazing spell to be able to restrict so many runs, depending on the fact that there was a high scoring innings for Punjab Kings, and then just overall, really, I think throughout the season he's been looking very good. There's his variations and just the way he confuses batsmen sometimes. A lot of batsmen they struggle to pick Hasaranga, and I feel that's what makes him really effective. And he's had a great season. I'm excited to see him coming back into the IPL next year and in the coming years as well.
I agree, and I think he's really starting to justify his. I think they paid RCB paid nearly 10 crore for him, 10.75 crore I think it was, and he's played 13 matches, 23 wickets, an economy of 7.48 in the top 5 wicket takers. That's the best economy. So that tells you something, the amount of control he's having over games, and if he keeps playing like this, even obviously even if he doesn't take loads of wickets, economy for me is what I would expect of a spinner, like of a leg spinner, and just general spin in IPL. I wouldn't, if they get slogged for 10 runs and over and take 2 wickets, that's pointless. But if you don't take any wickets and get hit for 3-4 runs and over, that's amazing. That's what we want because it gives control to the bowling attack. And yeah, I think he's 100% a player for the future. One thing that's disappointing me though is his batting. Honestly, he's batted at number 5 and 6 possibly for Sri Lanka, and this is in Test cricket, ODI, and like T20. So he's batted up high, but in the IPL, for some reason, he's batting like 8, 9, and it's not giving him really any chance to score any runs and just to get some get balls in him because he is a capable all-rounder, 100%. He's showed it on international level. So if he can do it internationally, I think he should be able to do it in the IPL. So I'm a bit confused why RCB are batting him so low. He can hit the ball very hard. And he can also, especially with RCB, who don't have like the strongest batting order, he can really add a bit of depth there batting. But anyway, with his bowling returns, that's more than enough to keep his place in the team. So he doesn't need to worry about that. So yeah, that was main focus on the Punjab Kings versus RCB. We haven't really talked a lot about why, how RCB lost. Why did they lose? Why did they not score 200 runs and possibly win the match? For me, it's basically another top order, losing wickets quickly. RCB don't really lose wickets in a couple of overs. They'll lose 3 or 4. It's more just regular wickets at regular points in the time. What would you say was the main thing that made RCB lose that match, Zaid?
Yeah, it was a lot of batting. It just happened a lot. Recently. At the beginning of the season, RCB they're doing pretty well. With their bowling and batting, they're looking pretty good. And just as the season progressed, they just last few matches especially, they've been looking quite light with the bat and quite like struggling. You know, someone like Virat Kohli, we all know he's an amazing batsman, but just this season he's really struggled. And even Faf du Plessis, you know, he's had a couple of good innings, but apart from that, he's been struggling as well. And also, just like for yesterday's match, it was I think a little bit of the bowling as well. You know, we did talk about Hasaranga, and that was great, but also there was a little bit of not just bowling in general, but I think some pace bowling. So we had some spinners. We had Glenn Maxby got a wicket. Hasaranga got 2 wickets, and then Shabazz Ahmed he got a wicket as well. So it was really just like the spinners really that helped RCB to actually have a okay bowling performance. It was just really some of the pace bowlers they got absolutely whacked. You know, like Josh Hazlewood, he went for 64 in his 4 overs, and even Siraj he went for 36 in 2 overs, and that's like nearly half of the runs in just 6 overs. And I think that was something that really, especially in that match, RCB they really struggle with. And someone like Josh Hazlewood, he bowls. He's not like sometimes you don't think of him as a T20 bowler because he just bowls like nice hard length, and sometimes you think that well length balls in T20, well batsmen just hit it and just hit it for six, and that's what happened in this match. But you know length balls can be effective, but for me, I just think Hazlewood isn't really a T20 bowler. For me, I think he's more of a test bowler, and I think maybe even an ODI bowler, but for me, mainly he's a test bowler. But yeah, in this particular match, you know, the pace was, especially for us to be pace was very difficult, and really the spinners that you know had kept the runs tight and you know got most of the wickets. So that's why I think why RCB really lost that match.
I think that's fair. You picked up on two key things. Start with Faf du Plessis. He's RCB's top scorer, 399 runs, an average of 33. Not very, you know, not incredibly amazing, but it's pretty decent. You know, he's their top scorer. But in the top 20 run scorers, there's actually only one representative from RCB, and that just shows you the lack of runs scored by RCB. And it's a bit ridiculous because 10 teams, 20, you'd expect roughly around two to be two batsmen or more, especially for the better teams in the top four. You'd expect three, maybe four batsmen to be in the top 20 run scorers in the IPL, but this season. But only Faf is the only representative of RCB, so it sort of shows how their batting is struggling. You also picked up on Josh Hazlewood. See, a couple of episodes ago, we're talking about him scoring 4 for 20, taking 4 for 20 or 4 overs, something like that, with his hard length. He didn't change anything up. So what's the difference now? Isn't he not a really good? If he can take 4 for 20 or 4 overs and completely decimate a bowling attack, why is he getting smacked now?
See, the thing is, like, I think the reason he got whacked yesterday was because he came up against a batting lineup that's powerful. You know, Punjab Kings, Jonny Bairstow, he was going hard at it yesterday, and Liam Livingstone as well. You know, these two batsmen especially, they scored the bulk of the runs, and they were going pretty hard at the bowling attack, and they at any lots of pace. They were just absolutely killing out the ground. So that's something for Josh Hazlewood. If he comes up against some hard hitting batsmen, that's something for him to work on. I think because he just got to. I think he just has to bring up something else. You know, he can't just bowl the same line, the same hard length all over every single time. Firstly, because it becomes predictable. You know, every batsman will know by now that he's just going to come in bowl test match length. And also the other thing is just what's it like length balls, as I said, you know, a lot of powerful batsmen will just whack it, and that's exactly what happened. So something for me at the moment, I don't think Josh Hazlewood is a T20 bowler, but if he brings up something else, you know, maybe if perhaps he works on a Yorker or has a slow ball, something like that. But if he just has one other thing, I think he'll be a pretty good T20 bowler. You know, at the top he can bowl his hard length, but also have you know a change up he can have a go at, and I think that will make him much more effective because at the moment it's just you know, if he comes up against a hard hitting batsman, he's just really just going to get whacked with his length ball.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Variation is key in T20 cricket. Most good fast bowlers who take wickets always have a lot of variation, and it really helps them. You know, it keeps the batsmen on their toes. Let's go on to the second match. Lucknow Super Giants versus Gujarat Titans. Say, what was the score for this match, and can you give us a brief summary of the match?
Yeah, so it was the battle of the top two teams in the IPL, and the two new teams as well. And it's a low scoring encounter. Gujarat Titans, they batted first and they put on 144 for 4 in their 20 overs. And at the halfway stage, Lucknow would have been thinking, they've got this. That's not a huge score. Lucknow could have got it, but it wasn't to be. Lucknow, they got skittled for 82 in 13.5 overs. And it was a low scoring encounter. And Lucknow, I think that's the first time they've really looked a bit uncomfortable, especially with their batting. With their bowling looked good, but the batting, I think, looked a bit uncomfortable first time, really. And yeah, that's the brief summary.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much, that's covered all the aspects of it. You're right about Lucknow. They've generally, their batting, even if top order batsmen start going out or something, they can still put a good total on board. That's something that's really helped them. And but yeah, restricting Gujarat to 144 for 4 was testament to Lucknow's bowling. It was very good bowling, and that is 100% a chaseable score. Probably 20 runs under par. But Gujarat Titans themselves have probably the best bowling attack in the IPL at the moment. So they, facing Gujarat Titans was just going to be incredibly difficult. And Lucknow did just completely collapse. And 82 all out, it's not really Lucknow, to be fair. Like, that's not something I'd associate with Lucknow. But nevertheless, because they face top team, they are still second. So I think Lucknow, I'm not sure how many more points they need, but I'm pretty sure they're going to qualify. I think it's going to be unlikely they're not going to qualify. So we talked about why this match is significant. Top two teams in the IPL, both those teams want to be finishing first and second. It doesn't really make a difference what the order is, because first and second get priority in terms of the semi-finals. If one of them gets, they play each other, first and second play each other, and even if the team that loses gets another chance to qualify for the finals. So it's very important to be in first and second. The key performances to highlight, for me, I would say Rashid Khan's 4 for 24 of 3.5 overs, because Rashid Khan has been economical throughout the entire IPL, but this is the first time I think I've seen him take, up to his normal standard of wickets, like a very, very good bowling performance from him. So yeah, I think for me, that'd be Rashid Khan's 4 for 24. Zaid, would you say any other significant performances?
Yeah, so there was also Rashid Khan, as he said, he bowled very well. He got 4 wickets, which is something we haven't seen much in terms of wickets. Another performance was Shubman Gill. He got 63 of 49, and we've just seen him yet again. He's been impressing with the bat a lot. We've talked about as consistency at times, which is fine. As a young player, he's got so many years ahead of him. He can work on that consistency, but I think for his age, he's just got to as long as you're able to score runs, there's no point, being stuck at, consistently getting, for example, 20 or 30. You'll have an average of like 30, but you're not getting the big runs, which is exactly what Shubman Gill is doing. I think, that was obviously an excellent performance, and we've seen other performances from him as well. He got 70 or 80, or he's had some big knocks this IPL, and I think that's very promising looking to the future, looking, when he wants to go to India, play for India. And yeah, it's been looking like a very good performance, and just if you can work out consistency even more, that'll be amazing. So yeah, that's the main performance for me, I think.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I was just going back onto the Lucknow and Gujarat's bowling. I was looking at the top 5 most economical bowlers, and in those there are 2 who are from Lucknow Super Giants, and there are 2 from one from Gujarat Titans. It's just testament to their bowling. Mohsin Khan, 5.19 economy overall this IPL with 10 wickets. He's played 6 matches. Krunal Pandya, 12 matches, 9 wickets, 6.56 economy. And then those are 2 Lucknow Super Giants. And Gujarat Titans, Rashid Khan, as we mentioned, 12 matches, 15 wickets, 6.79 economy. That's actually pretty stunning. I honestly, you would never see this type of thing from any other 2 teams. If you picked at any 2 teams, they just wouldn't be this consistent. And the fact they've got such low economies show the amount of control they're having over their games. It's like, it sort of reminds me of like CSK of previous, and Mumbai Indians of like IPL 2020. So they've got the control that a winning team would need. So both of them could easily, one or the other would. Those 2 teams probably have the best chance of winning the IPL, I think. But yeah, that's true. And we've just got to see them keep that consistency. Yeah. So players that we want to talk about just in a bit more detail, that maybe question positions, things like that, which we want to talk about. We talked about Rashid Khan a bit, talk about his wickets, and he hasn't really taken that many wickets this season. But 12 matches, 15 wickets is a good haul. But last season, I think he took around 21 wickets and in 14 matches. So unlikely he's going to match that this season, but it's somewhere nearby. So we talked about Shubman Gill as well. Hardik Pandya, I think there was Zaid, you were thinking about him opening the bowling, but only bowling one over up front. Could you explain that in more detail? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so he obviously he plays for Gujarat Titans, and he opened the bowling with Mohammad Shami, who bowled 3 overs. He had a great day as well. He got a wicket for 5 runs, which was excellent economy. But Hardik Pandya, he bowled 1 over and opening the bowling, which I find really weird. Is that not just a waste of an over? I feel like, why would you open the bowling and only bowl 1 over? Like, at least bowl two. And it's like, it wasn't even a bad over as well. He bowled an over and went for 8 runs. So I found that really odd. I mean, for me, it's just a waste of an over. Maybe give that to another bowler. Someone like Yash Dayal. He's a young bowler. He's been getting some wickets. Just anyone really. But I don't think there's any point in bowling just 1 over up front, especially. And it's just a bit odd for me.
Yeah, it is a bit strange, but to be fair, T20, the way it's working is like they bowl 1 over, then another one bowler. They bring in bowlers quite quickly. They don't really go for spells. Honestly, just considering that they won and they got them all out for 82, I don't think it would have had too much of a significance. But on the talk of Hardik Pandya, since leaving Mumbai Indians last season, I think he's had a really big revelation. He was used by Mumbai Indians as like a number 6, 7, come in, try and smash it, slog it, increase their run rate. He did come in last season a couple of times earlier, but honestly, he didn't really ever look comfortable, to be fair. Like I wouldn't say that if he came in early and with like 10 overs left of the match, I wouldn't say that he would be able to score like a 70 off or 60 off 30, 60 or 40. I just wouldn't really feel like it. This season, however, he's actually looked like a proper, a very good batsman. What do you think? Do you think he can sustain that for the next couple of IPL seasons? And how do you think that's going to impact his India international career and where he's going to bat for India?
Yes, it's been a new role for him coming in at number 4. Sort of just as the top would finishes, he comes in and he just gets lots of time to, he gets at least 15 overs, 16, 15, 14 overs, something like that to bat, and which is excellent. He just gets more time to score runs, and that adds to his confidence. When he goes back to India to play international cricket, in India will be looking at that. He's been doing well in the higher middle order, number 4. Maybe he can come in, play bat for India. Maybe number 4, number 5, something like that. He could even have a go at number 3 if India really need that. But I think it's really nice. And sometimes as a player, especially us two, sometimes younger players, international players, they are often given a role that they just do, but they don't actually know if that's actually for them. And it's just sometimes like maybe Hardik Pandya, he's always been known for coming in at 6 or 7, giving it a big whack, and yeah, that's fine. He's done a decent job of it, but maybe a better role for him might be coming in at number 4 or 5, because he's been doing very well, and to be able to score runs, and he can still bowl a little bit, and that's not an issue. But I think for the next few years, he should be more of a batsman for India, and come in at number 4 and just give him much more time to bat, because he can do it. We've seen in this IPL, and I think that's just sometimes as a cricket player, you've got to look at what is your role, what is your best role, not what your selectors want you to
do. No, I agree. I think he's in that he's in that period of his career where he's in his like best form. I don't think he was really used enough with Mumbai. I just think he was like, because they had so many top order batsmen, it was working for them, and they were all scoring runs. But now if he continued and stayed in with Mumbai, I think he would have made a huge difference, because with Mumbai's batting order looking incredibly shaky this season and just not looking like it's good enough, he would have been easily promoted to 4 and been given loads of time to bat.